welcome to WordPress Birmingham virtual. This is our first one, so if there's any technical difficulties, bear with us. As Johnny said, my internet has been off since lunchtime today, so I am streaming through this little dongle thing, which means if I switch my video off or I drop off, it's because my internet is unreliable, which is why Johnny displays as me, because he's using my pro account so that we can host it without me affecting things. We are recording, so hopefully you saw the notice in the waiting room and our meetup, so just be aware that it will show that you're included in this meetup. All of the chat, like the background chat throughout this meetup, will be in the Meetup Birmingham Slack room. If you don't know anything about Slack, I am going to do a 5-minute run through before we really kick off, just to make sure you know how to get in. So we've got Ben and Babs doing some fantastic talks this month even. There will be question and answer session. Again, Slack is the place to put questions. And then Johnny will go through and shout out anybody who puts questions in Slack, so you can ask them directly in here. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention was just about your unmute button. You are muted by default when you join Meetup. If you could leave it on mute when presentations and things are going on, just in case, kids run in the background, the partner decides to build an extension, that sort of thing during the meetup. But obviously, please unmute if you want to ask a question or interject or join in conversations. And that's about it. So without further ado, Johnny can kick off with the WordPress news. And then I'll do a brief intro into what Slack is in case anybody doesn't already know.
Okay, thanks, Kirsty. So if you've not come along to our meetup before in sunny Birmingham, each month I tend to do a little roundup of sort of what's happening in the WordPress world. Some you probably come across yourself, some you might not have. We like to do it because it's a kind of good conversation starter for people and things like that. I have to say, with all this blooming C word nonsense, news is a little light, but we have got some cool things going on still in our world. So probably the biggest thing, which you are probably aware of, is that WordCamp Europe is going virtual. After unfortunately it was cancelled. It was due to be held in Portugal this year. It's going to be held there next year if everything goes to plan. They've basically turned it on its head and turned it into a full-on virtual conference, which you can sign up to at zero cost. All of it will be broadcast as a live stream. It begins on June 4th with a contributor day. That's an interesting one, a virtual contributor day. It's going to have some challenges, but when you sign up for tickets, it gives you a couple of choices for what you'd like to be involved in on contributor day. So you get a first and second choice there, and I guess they'll gather the teams together that are most popular. So that first day, June 4th, is virtual contributor day, followed by 2.5 days of talks and workshops. As I said, registration is open, and if you do want to participate in the Q&A sessions and virtual networking and all that kind of stuff and be part of the party, basically, you do have to sign up. You can just watch it, but I'd strongly recommend you sign up because, first off, it's a good sort of reason, and it'll be a reminder for you if you sign up because you put it in your calendar. But second off, it does give you that opportunity to get a little bit more involved and not be passive. So they're expecting around 3,000 online attendees. So that's going to be pretty substantial and pretty cool, I would say. WordCamp, and if you've not attended one before, is the conference all about WordPress. Even if you were to dip in for just a few hours, I think you'll probably find that it'll be time well spent. I would have thought the schedules are up. I didn't see them, but you could no doubt pick and choose a couple of sessions and that kind of thing. Well worth checking out. Okay, in other news, GitHub just got cheaper, which is great because you do version control everything, don't you? 2 weeks ago, GitHub changed their plans. Previously, you could have private repos, but you couldn't have private collaborators on those repos. You had to go up to a paid plan to get that. Now, you can have unlimited private repos where you could have that before, but now you can have unlimited contributors. So for the likes of small WordPress agencies, one-man bands such as myself, this is really, really good news. And it's clearly a response to other version control systems offering similar functionality for free. So it's, you know, GitHub to me is like the granddaddy of like Git version control stuff. So it's really nice to see them, you know, kind of, they've probably looked at their competitors and also thought, well, you know, what can we do? How can we evolve? And that is not a temporary thing. That is not like a COVID sort of measure. That is a permanent change to GitHub. So that's definitely worth looking at or considering if you are either on a paid plan. They will have emailed you because they emailed me about it. If you are not on a paid plan or you're with another service provider, it may be worth looking at again. I was quite happy to see that. I thought that was quite cool. Here's a really cool one, I thought, anyway. The dirty secret of WordPress is its search. Let's face it, it's junk. It was never meant to be a particularly good search, really, let's face it. And a lot of WordPress sites don't even use the search. If you wanted a really good search, really you'd have to go to a third-party type service. It can be quite expensive. There's a feature available in Jetpack Pro plan that was a much, much more powerful search. They've decided to split that into a separate product that you can buy now. The pricing is actually based on records indexed, which is a fair way of doing it. So if you had a relatively small site with, I don't know, a couple of hundred pages, a couple of hundred uploads, that kind of thing, it's going to cost you next to nothing really to have a super powerful, super accurate search. It even does things like autocorrect, suggestions. It's very, very clever stuff. I like it that it's based on the records indexed in your site. And as a little bit of background, one of the options, if you've ever looked at extended WordPress search or replacing it, is Elasticsearch, which is really cool, but quite expensive. Interestingly, it's actually, the architecture behind this is based on Elasticsearch, just with a really heavily customized API that kind of builds the search index using Elasticsearch. It's really cool. So you kind of get a really high performance, high quality search solution. It's basically plug and play for next to nothing. It's nice to see that functionality come forward. It's never going to be an area, I don't think, that will be developed particularly in core, because the basic search kind of does the job. It is always, in my view, going to be a plugin based solution or a third party. So it's really cool to hear that they use Elasticsearch in the background, because I know that is epic. Okay, a silly little one. Dash icons. The little icons that you're in your admin area. You may use them if you define custom post types and set your own little icons, or in your own admin page and stuff like that. I know I do, quite useful. That's actually an icon font, and whilst that approach does work in some instances, really the vogue is for SVG these days, individual SVG files. And when you actually look at what's happened to dash icons over the years, it's frankly, it's turned into bloatware, because every damn company out there wants their icon in it. Every new social media platform wants it. Then some dude wants an aeroplane. I don't know. It's over 300 icons, and that's not really efficient way to build icon fonts anyway. Anyway, getting back to the point, whilst it will be maintained for quite some time, and plugin developers, we've already been told, will have an option to continue to use the sort of legacy icon font dash icon system, they are moving towards a sort of whole new icon component that will all be SVG based. It's good, you know, it's the way forward, frankly, and it will certainly make things a lot more efficient, allow it to be more easily extended, probably include your own custom icons easier because they're single files instead of all bundled together in a font icon. I like it, it's cool. Right, one final one is something to leave you with to check out. So obviously, in between washing up, gardening, all that kind of stuff, you know, a lot of us are turning our attentions to learning new things, not necessarily web development. I'm learning about electronics at the moment, and I like soldering things and stuff like that. But in the meantime, there is a bewildering amount of WordPress community events going on all around the world. And what's really one of the positives to take out of this is that communities like our little Birmingham one have sort of flourished in a way and kind of reinvented themselves and opened their doors to people that, you know, frankly, might not have ever come to Birmingham. So there is a site called wpcalendar.io. wpcalendar.io. I'll put it in the chat, a link, and it currently has 982 WordPress communities listed in 110 countries. So if you're feeling a bit of a loose end, you will probably find something on every night of the week. One that I'd like to flag up to you though, because they're local to us, is next Wednesday, 6th. WP Coventry is having their online meetup, and I know Cheltenham had theirs. They were the first, literally about 3 days after lockdown was announced. So Elliot, I can't see you in video. I can only see your beautiful black and white studio shot, but well done, buddy. Good job. Hey, there he is. All right, great job on that. It worked really, really well, and fair play for getting organised so quick. So yeah, next Wednesday, 6th, WP Coventry. Check out wpcalendar.io. Plethora of events. Fill your boots, have fun, meet new people, learn new things. I shall now promptly pass you over to Kirsty, because we're going to do a little intro thing, I think, Kirsty. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey! So what me and Kirsty like to do at our in-person meetups to break the ice a little is just a little whip round to say hi, and you know what you're doing with WordPress, or ask a simple question, that kind of thing. So we don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to say hi, I love WordPress, or hey, this is an awesome plugin, or whatever, that is fine. You can just say, don't want to talk, thanks very much. But oh, blimey, waiting room, sorry. Oh, there we go, 2 more. Where was I? Right, intros. So this is going to be difficult because normally we're kind of in a room and we can go around in a logical order, but Zoom will order our video thumbnails in a completely different order on everyone's screen, which does make it fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work off my grid, guys, and I'll shout your name up. If you'd like to talk, awesome. If you don't, indicate, and that's cool. We'll move on to the next person. So the second person is Kirsty and Kirsty, so we'll kind of skip us, I think, and we'll move straight on to Ben. You're first, Ben Everard.
Oh, hey, what do you want me to say? Do I introduce myself?
Just a quick intro. Your name, Ben, and I don't know. Tell us something really cool about WordPress in 5 seconds, or why you use WordPress, or how you use it.
Okay, cool. So my name's Ben Everard. Hi, everyone. I'm co-founder of the Idea Bureau. You'll hear more about that in a minute. What's the best thing about WordPress? Our clients love it. It has its flaws from a development point of view, but our clients love using it. So we'll take the pain, and yeah, that's what I love about it, really. I think it's just a very usable tool.
Nice, good answer. Okay, next person on my list. I should warn you that you have to unmute yourself as well. And the next person is Jonathan Whiteland.
Hello everyone. As I said at the beginning to some people, I'm in Cambridge. I was flitting backwards and forwards because I have a base in Birmingham. I now can't flit because that wouldn't be essential travel. So I'm stranded here in Cambridge while my partner is in Birmingham. I work for a ex-marketing company now offering government-funded, EU-funded training, and all our WordPress sites, of which there are many, are to support those training activities.
Thank you. Right, next is Mr. Trevor Haynes.
Hi, I'm Trevor Haynes. I'm an amateur user and I look after 4 websites for 1 social organisation and 3 sporting organisations. 2 of those websites are WordPress, and another one I'm converting to WordPress, so I might need some help from you a bit later. I first found out about WordPress several years, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, from a social media surgery in Birmingham when I was looking at ways of promoting the sports. That's it, really.
Fantastic, Trevor. That's cool. Thank you. Right, Mr. Ben Bradley.
Evening, everyone. This is a great opportunity because I've always wanted to come along to one of the events, but I've never really found the time to get over there. So this is a great evening for me to finally meet everybody and have a listening. So yeah, I've been running my own web agency for 12 years now.
Oh.
And so just as a one-man band, deal with a whole range of clients, pretty much like yourselves. It's just great to meet other people, other like-minded people this evening. So looking forward to listening in.
Nice to meet you too, Ben. Nice to meet you too, sir.
Thanks very much.
Rachel, you're up. Oh. Yeah, sorry.
Muted, unmuted.
No.
I'm Rachel McCollin. I mainly write about WordPress these days. Most of the development that I do is basically case studies and examples for ScreenFlow videos and tutorials that I do. So I'm doing quite a lot of work for Tuts Plus at the moment, which is great because they're really lovely people to work for. And I've got a bunch of other clients too. And I'm also writing my 10th novel right now, which is a crime thriller set in Birmingham. And I think when they show those maps, you know, on the government press briefings, they look at Apple Maps and how many people are asking for directions. Google Maps thinks that I'm driving around Selly Oak and Harborne and Edgbaston all the time because I keep having to work out how long it would take for my characters to get from one place to another. So I'm breaking lockdown virtually, but not really. And for me, the best thing about WordPress is the fact that it's so flexible and extendable that I never run out of things to write about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. I like that, Rachel. Very good. Right, Matthew, you're up.
Hello, I'm a freelancer. I specialise in middle websites for vets. At the moment, I train under my own name, but I'm looking for a vet agency name, but I can't come up with good ones. If anybody can, that'd be brilliant.
I am a master at branding. With me, by the end of the session, I'll have the award-winning names. The bill will be in the post. I'll have a think. There you go. There's a fun one. Think of a cool name for Matthew. Vet-related specialists. Like it. Right, next up is Brett, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Brett. I first came to this group in the jewellery quarter about 4 years ago, but a bit like the other speaker said, I just haven't been able to get along due to time constraints. So actually this format is brilliant. It suits me much better. Background, I'm a small business owner. Been using WordPress for a number of years, not as my main tool. My 2 businesses, one is education and training, working in schools. So you got familiar with WordPress because I was developing my own business website and it made sense. So not technical in this sense. So I'm not sure if this is the right audience for me, but I'm after
for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a couple of specific things. I'm interested in. Installed Jetpack couple of years ago, and I've never bloody used it, and I'd like to know what I'm missing. Thoughts on Gutenberg, because I just can't really get on with it, and I'm guessing that's the same for some of you. Two businesses I run, I'm still developing websites. One is a magazine publishing ad business. This is the sort of thing I do, the Birmingham magazine, you may be familiar. These are magazines for the campaign for Real Ale. So, of course, with pubs all closed, that's gone to the wall, so I'm not doing any work with that. But the idea of the websites is they back up the online magazines. Anyway, I've talked long enough. It's good to meet you. And the last thing is, I'm based in Worcestershire. So, hello everyone.
Hello, Brett. I just want to interrupt just for a moment. This is definitely the place for you. Genuinely, we have people that are higher level developers. We have people that are just designers. I shouldn't say just designers because that's kind of me. And we have people that are authors, and we have people that have barely used WordPress and just logged into the admin and typed up their first post yesterday. So, you know, genuinely, this community is for all. If you're into WordPress, you're in the right place, sir, okay? Right, next up, Mark Narusan.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Works. Yeah, hi, everyone. This is my first time coming to the group. And I agree, this is ideal way to meet everybody. And yeah, I'm like some of the other people, I've not managed to find time to come along to the proper meetup. I'm based in Quinton in Birmingham. I'm an independent WordPress designer, developer, and branding consultant. I work with small companies, designing logos, building their sites, and sort of advising them on what content to put in their websites to try and generate some leads for their businesses. And I've been doing that for I guess about 8 years now. I was originally a print designer, but sort of gravitated towards WordPress because it uses a lot of my layout skills. Yeah, I really enjoy using WordPress, and yeah, just always looking to learn some new skills.
Cool. A man after my own heart, sir. We have similar backgrounds there. It's good to have you along. It's only taken 8 years to make it, Mark, but hey, no excuses now.
I've only been in Birmingham for about 5 years.
Oh, no, okay. We'll give you 5 instead of 8. Nice one. Thank you, Mark. Then we have Natasha Hockley.
Hello, I'm Tash. I'm based in Southampton and I work at the Idea Bureau as a designer. And that is me.
Oh, with Ben.
Yes, with Ben.
And I'm Connor. I haven't touched WordPress in about a year, but I'm mainly here just to support Ben.
Oh, nice moral support.
Say hello to everyone.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, good to have you along. Next is a gentleman called Tirath Ray.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we hear you.
So I'm ready to WordPress and probably kind of footballs. I did make a start. Still kind of hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choppy.
Sitting around kind of getting and maybe make for work. Yeah, in the fall of the worst. Kind of think about fast really.
Okay, excellent. Right, moving along. Shane Griffiths in a very smart setup, I have to say.
Hello. Yeah, I'm going for a bit of a purple vibe tonight.
Very nice.
First time I've been to the WordPress group before in any of the towns and cities. So my name is Shane Griffiths. I am the other co-founder at the Idea Bureau. So I'm hanging out tonight, saying hello to Ben and Tash and hanging out with the team. Like I don't see them all day anyway, but thought I'd hang out in my social time as well. Do I love WordPress? No, not really. I hate it actually most days. But actually, you know, we've been running we design and build websites and apps for various different types of clients, predominantly in the not-for-profit sector, in the public sector, and WordPress is one of our go-to tools. It's not something I'm particularly passionate about, but it gets it done. And the reason why we often use it is because actually clients, they like it. They feel comfortable with it. I think WordPress has become a household name for a lot of people. So people quite often come to us asking for a WordPress website, even though it might not be the best road to go down. But yeah, fun times all round. That's me. Happy to be here.
Cool. Good to have you along. Good to have you along. Interesting insights. Yeah, hopefully we'll hear a bit more about that decision-making process from Ben a little later. Thank you, Shane. Babs, if you'd like to give us a quick intro.
Very quick one, because you'll hear quite enough from me later on. I'm down in Maidstone in Kent these days, West Country originally, so not too far from Birmingham. Thank you very much for having me. Worked with WordPress since about 2008, been making websites for 20 years, and I do quite a lot of content writing now as well, because I've gone through helping organise WordCamp London and tried to set up WordPress Maidstone, but they weren't really having it. Yeah, it was a bit sad, really. I'd have one person turn up, which was I kind of gave up after a while.
Meetups where we've only had two. So.
I could do virtual ones now. Actually, we'll get more people.
You will.
Anyway, the thing I love about WordPress most is community. It's you lot, so it's just incredibly awesome. So that's enough from me.
Oh, that's lovely. And we'll be hearing more from Babs later. She'll be presenting on a wellbeing topic. So very important and particularly timely, I'd say, in today's environment. Mr. Dave Page, good to see you, sir. You're up.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm based out of rural Shropshire, so you know there's not exactly many people over here anyway to run into. I've been using WordPress for about a dozen years or so, and I've used WordPress for all kinds of different websites, really, from the smallest to the largest, well, fairly large. So that's me.
When he says fairly large, he means massive.
Yeah, that was just the code base.
Oh, let's not get into tabs and spaces protocol. Thank you, Dave. Good to see you, sir. Janice, lovely to see you. You're up if you'd like to share something with us.
Hi, nice to see you, Johnny. I'm Janice and I'm based in Bristol. I'm one of the organisers for Bristol WordPress People Meetup, which sadly is not meeting. I organised Bristol WordPress, sorry, mine's gone. Thank you, that's the word.
Very good it was as well.
Late in the day, I've been doing a lot of work today, so I'm a bit tired. But, and I absolutely love WordPress and I love the WordPress community, and it's great to be able to keep in touch with you. So thank you, Johnny.
Nice. Well, to be fair, Kirsty has done the vast majority of work, and we are using her company's corporate account right now. So really, all you got to thank me for is rambling. But thank you, Janice. We have a Mark.
Hi guys. I'm an entrepreneur based in Birmingham, and I've started using WordPress about 2 years ago to make a job board site to help people get into employment. My previous background was I worked for a training provider helping get apprentices into work all around Birmingham, and helped placed about 200 apprentices in my time with that company. So
right.
Just looking to expand and do my own thing now.
Cool. That's nice. Yeah, it's always it's good to hear about development opportunities anywhere, but especially in Birmingham. So good karma, sir. Good karma. Elliot Richmond, good to see you.
Hello, caught me on the hoof then. Hello, yeah, I'm Elliot. I've been using WordPress for well over 15 years, I think. I'm definitely a code wrangler. The more complicated, the better for me, really. I am the host of the Cheltenham WordPress Meetup, as Johnny has already mentioned. So if anybody is willing to come down, I know it's an hour away, you're more than welcome when we're back in the land of the living and meeting in person. Otherwise, you can catch us online. And yeah, the best thing about WordPress for me is the community. I think it's already been said, and I think especially at this time where we can all come together from different parts of the world, really, the community just gets stronger and stronger. So, you know, hats off to Kirsty and to Johnny and the people in Bristol, Coventry as well for doing this all online. Keep at it, and yeah, bravo. So I'm going to pause going to mute my mic and my video because I'm about to be called for my tea any moment, but I will come back and watch the talks.
We'll be right here.
Awesome.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you. Now this starts to get fun because in my gallery view, it's rejigged a couple of times. So this could be fun. Okay, we have a Mark without a thumbnail. Not sure whether they have a mic or not. Mark?
Yeah. Mark has already done one.
Oh, okay. Janice, we've done. We have a Liam Allen, in brackets, also no mic. So good to see you, Liam. Andrew, no mic. Welcome. I could make up your whole bio. That could be very dangerous. So you might want to get mic'd up. I'm not going to do that. Mike Bragg, have you got a mic?
Yeah.
Hey, good to see you, Mike.
You're right. I'm Mike. I'm studio manager at Edge Creative, an agency over in Sutton Coldfield. I've been building websites now for 15 years, using WordPress on and off, and mainly doing a lot of WooCommerce stuff at the moment with a lot of companies starting to move online.
Nice. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. This is going to get fun now. We have someone that's just called Home. I don't think they're home. Nathan Monk, how are you, sir? Do you have a mic? Oh. Hey, here he is. Nathan, how are you?
All right, you're right, Johnny.
Yeah,
hi, I'm Nathan. I am currently on my sofa, which is why I look all weird and sideways. But I run an agency in town called Smile, and we make web stuff for universities.
Nice and concise. I like that. That's what you call an elevator pitch. I could take a page out of that book. That's why I'm not allowed to do an intro, because I'd ramble too much. Okay, and last one, Marianne Williams. Do you have a mic? And would like to say hi? Ah, Marianne.
Hi, I'm just here because I'm want to listen to Ben Everard's talk.
Cool. All right. Fantastic. That's good. Me too. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a bit of a giggle. That wasn't too bad. In fact, I would say in some ways that went better than the in-person version, Kirsty. Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Kirsty, and she's going to introduce Ben, and we'll be hearing about all the cool stuff Ben's going to share with us. So, Kirsty?
Yeah, before we do that, did we miss Steve?
I don't know. These thumbnails jiggled around about 5 times. I was doing my best. We might have. Steve, did we miss you, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Sorry. My apologies.
Also, this is my first WP meetup. My name's Steve Hedge. I'm based out of Sutton Coldfield. I work actually for Jaguar Land Rover vehicles and have done for 25 years. And then in my own time, because obviously there's not enough to do in life, I run Encona Solutions, a web design business as a sole trader, and I've been doing that for 17 years.
Blimey, on top of working at the Rover as well. My word, you do like to keep yourself busy, Steve.
Yeah, so I was always in HTML and tables and never really moved on, refused to move on. We heard a lot about WordPress, but everything I ever saw was very sort of scatty blogs, which never really excited me. I was more visual. And then I picked up a Masonic client recently who had a website of his own, and he asked me if I'd have a look at his, and I quite liked what I saw and did a bit of research, and I was absolutely drawn into this new version of WordPress and Elementor probably about 2 years ago now, and I was completely convinced after completing the first job, and now for me it's WP going forwards and nothing else.
WP forwards.
Yeah, I did try another option before I came to WP. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the name of Coffee Cup.
You are.
I did use Coffee Cup, and my God, it was bloody awful. When you'd set something correct in the mobile version, it would throw out the tablet version, then it would throw out it took me what I could have done in probably 2 weeks in WP, probably took me 6 weeks, 7 weeks. In this Coffee Cup, it was awful. So for me, I'm not going to look back, and on the basis that you can log in online as well, and I'm not, sat at a desk, at home, and I can log in from anywhere because I spend quite a lot of time or weekends in Wales. That it's absolutely perfect for me, and it kind of fits everything I would ever want.
Wow! Now there's a glowing endorsement. Well, Steve, it's great to have you along, and hopefully when we're meeting up in person a little bit more, you'll be able to come along as well, because you sounds like you are definitely in the right place to pick up some hot tips on WordPress and maybe find out about some interesting plugins and all kinds of cool stuff that we share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay. Great to have you along, Steve. Okay, fantastic. Now, I don't think I've missed anyone. Have I missed anyone else, Kirsty?
No, I don't think so. I think there was only Steve.
Okay, cool. All right, fantastic. Okay, but I'll tell you what, I'm just going to introduce this because there's no point me going, hey, Kirsty, hand over. And Kirsty goes, hey, here's Ben. So here's Ben. No, Ben is, as he's already said, he works at quite a specialised agency. They do web solutions and app development. He's going to tell us about a project that they've recently worked on for the NHS that had its foundations in WordPress, but no doubt had a few nice custom bells and whistles. Interesting fact about Ben, if I could get a little bit more organised here, is... Oh, this was really cool. Ben volunteers as an advanced motorcycle instructor and holds the highest civilian recognition of motorbike riding skills, but has also just had a baby, so doesn't get out to ride as much anymore, sadly. But that is pretty cool. Motorbikes scare the hell out of me, but I'll hand you over to Ben, guys.
If that doesn't demonstrate how cool I am. Yeah, hi everyone, how you doing? I don't ride bikes anymore because I have a baby. Talking about babies, she literally threw up all over me like just before this this meetup. So this is not my favourite shirt. I do apologise. I'm just going to go and set myself up a minute, and then we'll get cracking. It would be awesome if someone could tell me if my screen shares. So you'll see a desktop, and can someone just shout out if you can see my slides now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
lovely.
Thank you.
So much. Because when I'm in presentation mode, I can't see any of you, so that's my problem. So first things first, thank you so much everyone for coming out. This is weird because I've never done one of these online meetups before. It's even weirder because my whole team are watching. So hi Shane and Tash and Connor, how you doing? It's even weirder because the client is on the call. So hi Marianne, hope you're doing well. This talk is called Building Essential Products for the NHS with WordPress. And basically, we're going to be talking a little bit about how we've used WordPress, how we've used Gutenberg, and some other tools, specifically the NHS Service Manual, in order to quickly and effectively build products for the NHS, specifically during, and I had to get it in here, during this time with COVID-19, which I'll talk about at the end. I'll loop back around to that one. I wanted just to mention who this talk is aimed at. This is a talk about how we built this, so there's going to be talk about how the project came to be, what we were coming from, but we will get into some technicalities and some development parts as well. So I think there's going to be a bit in here for everyone. It will go in a bit more technical, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the project. Actually, we can even ask design questions, as we've got Tash on the call as well, and any other questions on the project. Okay, so yeah, I think Shane's already stolen my introduction. Thanks for that. But yeah, my name's Ben Everard. I'm co-founder of the Idea Bureau. We are a creative agency we're remote, based in the south and the southwest of England. We are united with charities, public sector organisations, and SMEs worldwide, and we build products for the stories that matter. We've been working, we've been running for over 7 years now. I think, like Shane mentioned, it's mostly WordPress. Our clients seem to like it. You know, we run any of the kind of the nuances that it provides for us because it works well for our clients. But I think what it would be good to do is introduce you to the project. So, Patient Webinars is a project led by a team of dietitians based primarily here in the South and West. And the service seeks to improve patient care and increase patient understanding of diet-related issues like IBS or IBD, celiac disease, and also issues related, or diet-related issues in children also. And they've been running for a while now, and have come from effectively a homegrown, home-built website. Knowing that they needed to, running webinars, needed a website to advertise that information on. The original team built this on WordPress.com with the skills and the information that they had available to them at the time. Now, they did a really good job given their speciality, which isn't designing web pages, which is providing expert healthcare. But it's fair to say that we all knew that the website was lacking a bit of quality, a bit of consistency, and was just difficult to maintain both from a content point of view and a functionality point of view. And really, these are kind of typical public sector issues that we would find when organizations are trying to kind of roll their own solutions. So we got chatting early this year about talking about replacing this website and how we could go about improving this this service. At that time, the COVID-19 thing hadn't really kicked off proper. So I guess from my point of view, at least, it was a bit, we didn't really know what we're up against. But either way, it's very interesting how that comes out. Again, I'll talk more about that later on. We had a modest budget. It wasn't massive. And I think that was really interesting because it really focused our mind, I think. And we really wanted to work with a team on this. They're a wonderful bunch of people. I'm not saying that because one of them's on the call. They're really energetic. They know their stuff. They know their users. The dream client, effectively. But we knew that we had some constraints to start with. And I guess our first question was, what design approach do we take with this, given that we know we have a limited budget, but we want to make sure this product is as good as it can be, because there's a responsibility, given that this is in the health sector, that it needs to be as good as it can be. So quite early on within our research, we discovered a product from the NHS digital team called the NHS Digital Service Manual. Now, this is quite useful. This is a companion to the gov.uk service manual, which I suppose many of us might be familiar with. It was built by the government digital service team. I think I got that right. Probably about 8 years ago now. And the idea back then was to consolidate about 90 different government services and websites into one accessible, consistent and considered experience. And more recently, the NHS digital team have been doing a similar thing on their side to ensure that through the health sector, we have that accessible, consistent and considered approach to the services and websites that run those services as well. So it became very clear that there was a huge amount of benefit to using this digital service manual, and not least because of some of the resources that they provided for us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what those resources are, and then I'm going to talk about how we used them and how we benefited from them. So it's not really my area, but I wanted just to start with the design side, because the NHS digital team provide design files that show all of the components and all of the page layouts, all of the typography, rules, pretty much everything you need to know to take this design system and use it within your project. And this was really useful for us because it meant that we could prototype and design very quickly. And it provided us with the tools to be able to show the client what we were thinking and also get them on board. Because I think for us all, there was a bit of a trepidation as to whether we should use this, this approach. And I think we all learned relatively quickly that actually this was the tool that we should use to base our product on, mainly because there's so much research that's gone ahead of this on accessibility and performance and usability, that actually if we were to use this would be a great foundation to make something very special with. Perhaps looping back around to the stuff that I do a bit more, the cool thing with this, with the NHS Digital Service Manual, was they provide you with pre-built components. So all of this research that's gone into actually designing something, they provide me and us, the general public, with these components that we can then pick up and use in our projects very easily. We're going to get a bit nerdy now. So this is an example here. This is an example of what's called the urgent care card. It's quite an important component within the design guidelines, and it's a card that's used to highlight that someone might need to seek additional support or additional care based on a set of criteria. But the cool thing is here that the digital team provide all of the HTML files or nunjucks, if that's your thing, if you're doing a bit more modern programming, to be able to really quickly implement this within whatever system that you're using. So it need not be WordPress, it could be anything. And also as well, they've provided an NPM package, so you can bring this system straight into your front-end library, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and just link to CSS files. You know, it's pretty resilient as to how you can use this. But the cool thing is that all of these components were already coded up for us. So effectively, we're saving a whole load of time there, rather than reinventing the wheel. We're almost standing on the shoulders of giants and the work that's gone before us to be able to use these components. I said at the start about how we were a bit unsure what design process we should take, whether we should go completely custom, or that might not have been so compatible with the budget, or whether we should use a system like this, which effectively we decided upon. Early in the build, actually, we weren't planning on using WordPress for this at all. We were planning on using a tool called Webflow. And for those who haven't used Webflow before or haven't heard of it, it's a no-code solution becoming very popular right now, and we use it for some other projects. And it's very useful because it means that design teams can build websites very quickly and very, very efficiently. And that was a product that we were going to use to build this, up until the point that we realized that these components were already coded and already good to go. So it didn't make a lot of sense for us to then reinvent the wheel and do extra work to get to a point that we're already at. So when we were thinking about these components, we're almost thinking about components of blocks, and well, Gutenberg uses blocks. So if we've already got the HTML, maybe we should just use Gutenberg to build our websites, and effectively that's what we chose to do. I'm quite fond of Gutenberg. I know it divides opinion. The reason why I'm fond of Gutenberg, if I could just deviate, is because I feel like it changes the way we think about designing and implementing our websites. I guess historically, we kind of always thought of websites as template driven, and you have templates, but templates are rigid and they don't conform, and they don't adapt to the way businesses adapt. Whereas with Gutenberg and with blocks, we're quite easily able to build these smaller, more individual, more discrete blocks that we can benefit from as developers and designers, but also our clients can benefit from a content management point of view. So for us as developers and designers, creating Gutenberg blocks is really fast, very fast indeed. They're easy to create, they're easy to test, they can be easily deployed and very easy to maintain. And I guess it also means that for the client and for the editor of the product, it also means that there's infinite content possibilities, in the sense that rather than having 10 very rigid, distinct pages or templates, now really we kind of just have blocks that you can use anywhere. And in 6 months' time, should the business needs change, these blocks can be changed and used in a different way to reflect that new priority. And if it turns out that we need to add some more blocks, then we'll do that, because that's actually very quick to create and test and deploy, as I've mentioned. So I think this is pretty cool because it allows us to do better work, and it empowers the client to manage their content better and to produce better content, all effectively for the greater good of the user. I did want to mention perhaps just some problems. I want to be transparent with what we've done with Gutenberg and some issues that we've had on the way, because I figured it's only probably fair. We found when we were building these custom blocks, we're building a decent amount of custom blocks. Actually, sometimes we didn't need to build custom blocks at all, because we already have elements within WordPress itself that would allow us to build a page. So I've got an example here, for instance. We have the Meet the Team page, and this section here where we've got a team bio, for instance, there's nothing special about this. They're in columns, and it's an image, it's a heading, there's a paragraph with a small tag within, and there's a paragraph for the bio. So nothing within this particular section is complicated. But the problem is, if you were to ask the client to go and select an image, go and select a heading, and allow that process to be consistent through every time that a team profile is going to be used, it's never going to work. And I was somewhat disappointed to learn that there's no way of grouping for reuse, or providing maybe a template for a range of other blocks, whereby we could define that a team profile within WordPress is an image, a heading, 2 paragraphs. And therefore we can just use those wherever we need to. So I was a bit disappointed by that. I know there are groups, and I know there are reusable blocks. They're not quite the same as what we're looking at here. But either way, we got around it. It was one more component to build, and it took no time, but it's just more weight in the system, which I guess we were somewhat worried about. One of maybe the bigger things, the bigger problems is the editor styles within Gutenberg. So for quite a while now, we've been able to add our own styles to the editor within WordPress, whether that's in Gutenberg or within the WYSIWYG that we're trying to move away from, I guess. But the issue that we have with Gutenberg is that these styles often bleed into the other areas of the WordPress editor. So for instance, in the bottom of this screen that we see here, we have the Gutenberg block handle. You see it with the up arrow and down arrow. And if you're not careful, some of your pretty basic styles, in this instance, I think it was like a button style, can end up bleeding into that area and completely trashing some of the basic Gutenberg styles. So it's a bit disappointing that, that there's not better support to target just the preview areas of these blocks and not the entire editor area. And I know Advanced Custom Fields does a pretty good job at giving you the tools to target that. So the Advanced Custom Field stuff works really well. It's more the core WordPress blocks which really suffer here. I'm convinced that this is something that they're fixing, so with any luck that'll be fixed shortly. And then finally, we're getting proper nerdy now. Finally, the big issue for me, or another big issue, was there's no, when WordPress is outputting the page, there's no way of knowing in what context that block is being used. So again, we'll go back to the team profiles here. We have no idea that the team profiles are in 3 columns here. And that's a problem because we want to be able to tell the browser what sizes to expect for responsive images. So we can deliver only the image size image sizes which are appropriate for that device, the screen size, the screen pixel density, or maybe even their network conditions if they're on, I don't know, dial-up or whatever. There's no way of us knowing that this block is in columns of 3. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense, whatever. Even if this was a full width block, we'd never know. And therefore, we currently have no way of being able to really hone down on that performance. And if you're a performance junkie, that's the stuff where you can really make some of those wins. And unfortunately, at this point, it's not available. I know it has been worked on. I think it was set to be as part of the release cycle for WordPress version 5.3 or 5.4, something to that effect, but it never got around to being done, unfortunately. So I didn't want to knock WordPress, but those are some of the issues that we've had. I think it's interesting, actually, now we're talking about this, just to say that, you know, we're not wed to WordPress. I think we could have used any tool that we wanted. It just happened to be that in this instance, it was the best tool for the job. And it might be that for the next one, it might not be the best tool for the job. But talking about that, actually, there are a couple of ways on this project where we improved the development process on WordPress. And I mean, this is going to get a little bit nerdy, so just hold on to yourselves for a minute. But there are two main tools that I wanted just to give a shout out to, because I think WordPress on its own is okay, it's good from a development point of view, but these two tools really make it something else. So I kind of figured that everyone here would know what Advanced Custom Fields is. If you don't, Advanced Custom Fields is, it's a plugin that allows us to add custom fields to WordPress so we can output that content into any template or any block that we want. Historically, with that one big rigid template, you would have 1 million custom fields for every piece of that content to output to the screen. And I do know I'm being a bit unfair because custom fields has flexible content, but I'm generalizing to make a point, I guess. But ACF now, as of 5.8, I think, pretty cool because it allows us to define and create Gutenberg blocks without having to do with any React code, without having to do with any JavaScript code. I'm not personally too against getting involved with that kind of level of coding, but it was unnecessary on this project. It was more important that we're able to complete this project in good time to be able to allow the public to use this service. And Advanced Custom Fields in this instance made it super easy. And a bit of context, given that some of the components, well, all of the components really were already built for us. Some of these components took about half an hour from starting them from scratch to testing them to deployment. And that's pretty cool. So yeah, Advanced Custom Fields is part of everyone's Swiss Army knife, I think, for WordPress, pretty cool. The other one that I've only learned of recently is a tool called Lumberjack, built by the team at Rare who are a web agency based in Southampton. Lumberjack brings modern MVC frameworks into WordPress. If you're used to Laravel and Symfony platforms, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll probably appreciate those improvements to the WordPress theme development. If all of that was a bit French, effectively what it means is when we're building WordPress themes, we no longer have a functions file which is 200 lines or 2,000 lines long, just randomly full of hooks and actions and functions. But instead, we're structuring our code in a way that splits out all of our business logic and then it separates that from our templates and our views. And it makes for easier maintenance of the website. It makes it easier to build websites in the first place, easier to collaborate with others on WordPress development. So if you're kind of in that phase of development with WordPress, I definitely recommend it. And they've done a great job at bringing some really cool tools and techniques into the WordPress development kind of area. But both of these things, and some of the others that I can't mention because I'm already kind of running out of time, really help build this website, not only effectively, because there's no point in building it quickly if it's not maintainable or if it's not fit for purpose. So we were able to build this website not only effectively, but really quickly. And I guess there's the kind of the big C word that, you know, when we were building this website, we at the start, we kind of didn't know what COVID-19 really meant for any of this at all. But of course, when we started going into lockdown and social distancing started to become an issue, it was really important for our clients and us as a public that we stop getting in contact with each other, as in we distance it from each other. And to be able to provide these webinars to the general public meant that in a small way, we're stopping people from going to that hospital, we're stopping people from going to that surgery when that trip was unnecessary. And now they have that accessible, consistent, what was the word I said at the start? Another C, can't remember. Just a really nice user experience for our users to be able to visit this website and to improve their own patient care. Interesting, before we started, I went and had a look at the analytics, and we launched this, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we launched it at the time when the lockdown started, I think. And the traffic overnight over tripled. And it's really, really wonderful to see that, that this website is being used. And as a team, we're really proud of the work that we've done. And we're really proud to have worked with such a wonderful client. And I really mean that. They've been so good to us, and it's been great to work with them. So I think that's pretty much it. I kind of a pretty good fly through of how we've gone and used these tools and WordPress to build for this particular product. Yeah, big thank you to everyone. Big thank you to everyone at the NHS, because they're just pretty awesome. I'm happy to answer any questions, whether it be on development or design. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Isn't that awkward bit where I've realised I've been speaking for 20 minutes?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you. Thank you for your insights on that. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to ask a question now. And whilst we're sort of going through this, guys, if you have any questions, please post them into the Meetup Birmingham Slack channel. And if you'd like to ask them yourself, you are more than welcome. But if you can post them into Slack first, and then we'll maybe get them into a logical order. So thanks very much for that. That's cool. Interesting sort of approaches on things. One of the questions I had around this was, I was wondering if you had to deal with different roles and capabilities for the clients, or were they okay just having a general editor role kind of deal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I think our clients. I think because Gutenberg is still pretty new to everyone, it's fair to say that there's still a certain amount of hand-holding in the sense of making sure that we still have a consistent approach. As far as roles specifically, no, I think pretty much the people who are involved have editor roles, and there's no need in our case to have any higher or any lower. So we're pretty happy with that. What else was I going to say? I just want to reiterate, yeah, I think with Gutenberg, we're still trying to find our feet with it as well. And the editor perhaps is one of the bits which is still, it's still a little bit more maybe complicated. I'm not sure. I think there's more work to be done there, especially from a client point of view, to allow our clients to really own the experience on on the website. But no, from roles, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Brilliant. Yeah, I just wondered whether maybe some of the clients, they needed different access capabilities to different areas of the site and that kind of thing. If I may, I'll just squeeze in another quick one, Ben, if that's okay. So you mentioned ACF. A lot of our attendees use that, along with myself in certain instances, not so much so used to. I noticed that you had some custom title options up on that page where you previewed the editor, which I presume were ACF. But did you use ACF to actually build out your Gutenberg blocks as well, your custom ones? Or did you just...
So yeah, every block that we built on this website was using the register block function within ACF. So that was super useful. I'm just actually going to...
Did you find that quite, you mentioned it was a fast process. Had you been through that development process before? sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here because the client's on the call, but we're obviously dealing with an expert developer here, so very resourceful. So
and that's fine. There's no secrets between the client and us. We're yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so to clarify that question, you found the process quite painless. I've had a dabble myself. I created a block in about 30 seconds. It was really cool. Only a very simple one text field, but you know, got to start somewhere.
You've got to start somewhere. Yeah. So I think yeah, the process is easy. It's not the first time I've used it. I used it on another project before. Actually, I was kind of waiting to use Gutenberg until advanced custom fields had caught up, which actually was quite a while in the end. I found it very straightforward. The documentation is pretty cool. There are a couple of things that you can't do with it. I don't think, so within Gutenberg, within the block, what do they call it? The toolbox, whatever that's called. There's a preview little window. And with advanced custom fields, you can't provide an image for that preview. And that would have been perfect because then the client would have been able to see very quickly, oh, that's the block I want. So no, that was straightforward. Adding the fields in the back end. The only thing I've done differently on this one is I added all of the fields are committed through version control through the through JSON files. So you can have advanced custom fields send all of your data into it's called ACF-JSON. If you have that folder in
we know the one. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And that's just amazing because it means you don't have to have this kind of two-way database downloading the fields and uploading.
It's a godsend.
Exactly. So that was the only thing, but no, it was pretty straightforward. I'd recommend people take a look. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's something we've touched upon briefly a couple of meetups back, actually. If I am mistaken, I'm sorry, Ben, you obviously covered everything so thoroughly that that we have no other questions, actually.
There's questions in the Slack channel.
I have a question.
I do apologise. I am sorry. Yes, too many. I've got like 3 monitors here, and I'm looking at the wrong one, I think.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, fire away, Elliot.
I dropped in sort of halfway through your talk, I think, and you mentioned something about. It was a great talk, by the way, Ben. Thank you. But you mentioned, I think, getting lost in the block editor experience and not knowing where you were. Was that right?
I can't remember if I said that specifically, but I know what you're talking about, and we have had that where it gets a bit messy sometimes. Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, but there's like a navigator. There's a block navigator at the top, and it kind of lists in the tree view how to navigate to each individual blocks. But something I discovered recently through High Rise Digital, actually. Along the bottom, very similar to CSS kind of tree in the inspector, down the bottom of the page, you've got this really handy kind of, it's almost like a breadcrumb. So wherever you are in a block, you can actually, if you've got nested blocks and nested blocks, you can actually navigate to the individual hierarchy of the individual block by clicking on one of those links. I don't know if you're aware of that, and I may have come in halfway through. So apologies if I've got it around my neck, but I'm just
no, that's cool. And no, so I know exactly what you're talking about. In fact, Shane and I were having the same problem when you've got a column container and then a column and then a block. All of a sudden you have this mess which it's difficult to get out of. And then we discovered exactly what you saw. So no, that's very useful indeed. And I think I only saw it last month, so I must have had my eyes closed when I was developing before.
Yeah, it's new to me as well, so that was it.
Oh, fantastic. We have actually got quite good questions for you, Ben, but we are running a little short on time, unfortunately.
So Johnny, sorry if I can interrupt. So there's quite a few questions in Slack still. So Ben, if you've got a bit of time, you wouldn't mind just having a look through and answer on Slack, so people's questions do get answered and don't get missed. That would be genuinely appreciated. But yeah, that was a great talk. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone.
I think we are now time to move on to Babs, if you're ready, Babs.
Help I muted myself to start with.
Oh, there we go. We can hear you, Babs. Perfect.
Excellent. What else do I need to do? I'm not used to this.
Well, while you're doing that, so I asked both Ben and Babs earlier to give a random piece of trivia to introduce them with something a bit different to why we like WordPress, because I knew we were covering that at the beginning. And Babs answered with, she seems to think she can run an emporium for retro and mid-century items as a side hustle. Of course, there is insufficient time for this, but this does not stop her stocking this potential shop, perhaps something for retirement. Her particular passion is for retro fabric even, of which she has a significant stash, which is fine that with the recent situation, Babs is coordinating local supply and collection of sewing scrubs and other items for the NHS, and the house is gradually filling up with other people's old duvet sheets and fabrics that can be parted with. So that's definitely not WordPress related. And also apparently is something that you have in common with Johnny's wife.
Indeed. Ben's wife. Was it Ben or Johnny's? Ben's wife. Sorry. Yes, indeed. I thought I'd dig some of mine out and use it as a backdrop. But I didn't buy this. This was actually my husband's curtains when he was a kid. So you can blame my mother-in-law for this fabric, which is actually very valuable at the moment. Anyway, never mind that. Hello. I've got a slide here, but I can't work out how to put it up, but I shall. I'm very sorry about this. Present. That'll be it. But I need to tell you that I'm presenting to, and share the screen. That's it, isn't it? But do you know what? I'm just going to get stuck in with it because I don't have any slides to show you anyway. It's just one slide that has a website link to WP and Up, because it is with them that I'm speaking, or on their behalf that I'm speaking. So I'm just going to get stuck in and stop waffling, although I'll probably do some more waffling anyway. But anyway, we've gone from the sublime to, quite frankly, the ridiculous now, because you have a really techie person who knows what he's talking about, Ben, to somebody who hasn't got a clue other than being able to throw a website together. But anyway, still, you all welcome me, which is absolutely wonderful. Hello, I'm Babs Saul, and as well as running my own business, The Blog Mistress, which supports people working with WordPress, I can't even say it anymore, small business owners and people that have even less of a clue than I do. I also work with WP and Up, which is a charity that supports and promotes the mental well-being and positive health, mental health within the WordPress community. So that's all of you. And as someone who's worked from home for the past 20 years, and having been an introvert for at least twice that, I've come to understand many of the challenges that can come with remote working, which is quite useful these days. And while indeed some people seem to think it's a bit of a jolly working from home, boy are they learning that it's not now. It is actually pretty hard at times to stay focused and not be distracted by the seeming relentless domestic tasks that are somehow your responsibility. Never mind that if you also have children, sorry about this, Ben, but you're going to find this one out if you work from home. Yeah, if you have children, we're not going to go into about children because that would just take hours. But then, of course, you've got all the other temptations when you're working from home, whether you do gaming or enjoy baking or love pottering in the garden, Netflix, stuff like that. But perhaps the biggest challenge of working remotely and on your own or not can be loneliness. And even if you live with other people, it's still at times lonely as heck. And not everybody gets this working at home business. They think that we're dabbling, may not take what we do as a proper job or a serious business. Thank goodness for the internet. Now we have online communities not just WordPress focused, though this is how I've become so involved, firstly through the Genesis Slack community, and then with the UK WordPress Slack, having been dragged across to a WordCamp back in 2016 by Gary Jones, no less, into the UK WordPress Slack, and now with WP and Up, both in Slack and on Facebook. And right now, for this time, we only have online interaction. And of course, it's not the same. We don't have hugs. There is less immediate response to body language or facial reactions, but it is a lot better than before the internet, that's for sure. I can remember a Yahoo group, or even its predecessor, that I cannot think of what the name was, because this was back in 2000, which was for people with a health condition. And yeah, year 2000, I'm pretty old. It was, for me, an absolute lifeline at the time, because I was stuck at home, didn't know anybody in the area, because I used to just commute up to London doing contracting work, and didn't need to know anybody. I'd moved from Somerset over to Kent and knew not a soul. So I was stuck at home with chronic pain and no likelihood of that changing. But there were very rough, basic bulletin boards, and it was contact with a community that understood my diagnosis of the time. It was all slow and clunky, but it was something. It was days of modem connections and wires everywhere through the house. Now, of course, we've had Skype and Google Hangouts for a few years, and now we have even better things, for argument's sake, such as Zoom and FaceTime and Portal, and probably a dozen other things that I've got no idea about. And for some of us, whether we're boomers or Generation X or even younger maybe, this is all really quite wonderful and astonishing when we stop to think about it. Thank goodness for broadband. Though there's really no point imagining how we would be coping with the current situation of lockdown if we had no internet, because we just would. We just get on with whatever we have. But thank goodness for the internet. We're really lucky in the WordPress community. We kind of understand this internet malarkey and what it can do from working with it every day. Getting used to this new way of the world is easier for most of us here. And I guess some of us will have been the point of contact by others to help them to get to grips with it all. to get to grips with it all. Or perhaps that's what youngsters are for, if we happen to have any to hand, or if they can be bothered. The WordPress community is also an especially open and welcoming one, though. I've certainly found that, and it really does become more so all the time. I mean, I would never have imagined I'd be talking to WordPress Birmingham, even though you used to be just up the road from me, which is absolutely wonderful. But we are a particularly welcoming community, even for non-technical, non-designery people like me who just know their way around putting a website together and not being afraid to play, or feeling secure in asking others right here for guidance. Within WP and Up, we're running a Stronger Together series to help people understand that this is exactly what we can be. The ways that we have become stronger together as a team and as a community are many, and I actually outlined some of these today in a post over on the website. The Slack is especially supportive. You can ask anything and we can share anything or nothing. You can just simply be there and hang out. You know that you're welcome and that you don't have to join in at all. But enough people do join in and share how they're feeling, or, you know, the good stuff and the bad stuff and everything in between. That means that other people can relate and they can feel less alone. We also have weekly open chats on Friday afternoons at about 3 o'clock. And generally we have about up to 20 people joining from across Europe or the UK, and some in the US as well, mainly at the moment. And that's pretty cool. There's no topic, we just hang out together and chat about anything, or some people will work while the chat is going on. And I know the UK WordPress Slack also has a weekly remote chat too on Tuesdays, because sometimes it's just good to work with other people in the same space, even if that space is virtual. One thing I have found, though, that I wanted to share with you, is a bit of a tip, I suppose. I don't know, you may already know this, but it's something that kind of struck me last week. And this is all quite new, having meetings online. This is a new way of holding meetings for many, many people. If you're having a particular meeting where everyone is pretty much expected to pay attention, try to remember to, or you know, actually give your focus, your attention to the person that's talking. I actually found, to my shame, the other week that between a few of the people that were in a meeting, something distracted each of us from the speaker, and it was not a happy feeling for them at all. So, you know, it's just something that I always now remind myself that if I'm supposed to be focusing, I actually focus on the person. But it's quite difficult because, you know, something pings here, or our webcam is up here and we're looking here. So, you know, it doesn't look as though we're paying attention, but it's just something to kind of be aware that, you know, how you're being is actually going to affect other people. Anyway, that was an aside really that I just wanted to include there in case that was helpful for anyone. Anyway, one of the other things that we found over in WP and Up is perhaps the most powerful. And it's a small group of people who have rapidly built trust and friendship. And we meet fortnightly. There's just half a dozen of us. We're meeting weekly at the moment because, you know, that's kind of what we need just now. And we kind of help each other through tough times or difficult issues that arise, or even to sort of chat about how different things are going. And it's not exactly like a mastermind group, which is mainly business focused. This is life, and we call it a life group. We actually sort of, you know, we'll share, it's good stuff and bad stuff. Again, it's that kind of thing, but it's, you know, within a very trusted group of people. And there always seems to be at least one of us around when somebody else needs us. And that's definitely a case for each one of us is most certainly stronger together from being within this group. And of course, at WP, we are going to enable more of these because they're just awesome. Of course, it's not just WordPress people who value and recognize the awesomeness of community, although we are perhaps the most awesome of all communities. Hopefully, many of us are seeing this even more just now. I know that I certainly am, from local groups setting up on Facebook to support each other locally, or those supporting those who are more vulnerable within our immediate communities, to the wider area sewing groups that we mentioned earlier, where you've got mostly women who are raiding their airing cupboards and fabric stashes to sew scrubs for the NHS, because sadly that's needed. And, you know, there's this bunch of people who have got, you know, don't know each other at all. In Maidstone, we've got about 1,000 of us all together, or is it two? Anyway, it's an awful lot of people who are just sewing stuff and taking it to the hospitals and the GPs and everything. And that community isn't going to go away. Obviously, it will calm down and, you know, life will get in the way and things. But there is another community there that has come together to, you know, create something incredibly powerful and strong. Personally, I feel I can actually do so much more for having been a part of each community that's welcomed me. And I'm somebody who gets imposter syndrome big time, like really right now, big time. But with each community that I'm in, I do become stronger and stronger. And I don't think that's just because I'm getting older and older and not caring so much about what people think. But anyway, it genuinely is that community is a very powerful thing. And one of the things that I hope will come from this time in history is that more people will be less dismissive of online communities, because they are very real and they are very powerful. right now, they are essential to many of us. With groups such as the WordPress meetups, it means that more of us can join communities that we may not be able to go along to physically. I can't do that. You know, I have a disability. I can't get to the local meetups. I tried to create one locally, but that didn't really work out. Maidstone doesn't really want it, so, which is a bit sad, but, or they want a different thing that I can't actually provide for them now. Maybe I can go online. I haven't thought about this, but I've got enough to do. So really, I'm waffling again. I just actually wanted to chat about this with you, to share how we really can be stronger together, that community is even more important now, and is not just possible, but happening in many ways. And of course, just to say that you are all welcome to join the WP and Up community. If you work with WordPress, then it's there for you, at whatever level you want. It's totally free. It's there for you, to listen to you and to support you should you need it. And that's it really. So yes, you can join in over at wpandup.org and you will be very, very welcome. And thank you very much. If there's anything at all you want to ask, go for it.
Thank you, Babs. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to just reiterate that domain name, it's WP and Up, spelt out, not ampersand obviously, because it's a URL, .org. Okay, wpandup.org. I think now it's even more important to recognize that if you are having troubles, there is support out there that can understand where you are coming from. And I think in today's environment, it is just so important to know that there is someone to talk to that is part of your world, you know, that lives in this world, this crazy world of web development. So thank you very much for that, Babs. So again, if you have any questions for Babs, please post them to the Slack channel. I will look at the correct channel this time. And I'm going to kick it straight off, Babs. I'm a long time sort of remote and home worker myself. And what I'd really like to know, and a very easy question from a seasoned professional as yourself, what's your top tip? What's your top tip for keeping focus on your work when working at home? Just one. What's your top tip? Tricky.
When I find that out, I'll let you know. No, I am getting better at it, but I do get distracted very easily by, especially when the sun is shining, like yesterday. Last lovely day. I'm sorry, I was in the garden for most of it and I shouldn't have been. I should have been writing a talk for some meetup or other. But no, you do have to sod the laundry, sod having to cook. Sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm going to. Having to cook dinner, even answering the phone to your auntie who thinks that, oh, well, you know, she works from home, she can take a call anytime. No, I can't, I'm working. And actually, the more you have to be disciplined yourself and actually be, you know, very firm with everybody else that this is just the same as me going to an office. You know, when kids are involved, that's a whole different ball game. But I'm thankfully coming through the other side of all of that with them being teenagers, although they're back again.
I hear that's the trouble with them, that they keep on bloody coming back.
No, I'm treasuring this time because this is the last time I'm going to have both of them here for any prolonged length of time, I'm sure.
No, I think that's a good point, and I would definitely agree with a sort of firmness with people. My mum loves to ring me up in the day, and she rambles worse than I do. She can ramble solid for about 2 hours. So, you know, with the greater respect, I've had to sort of say, you know, Mum, I love talking to you, but could we kind of keep it to the evenings? Because most of the time in the day, I've kind of got deadlines to hit and kind of work to do.
Or
and
maybe
my
you can
wife-
give her a set time, your lunchtime or something like that.
Lunchtime's not long enough, Barbs. And also, you know, I have to put it much more sensitively with my wife, but she seems to think that I just have unlimited time to sort of fit household jobs in during the day. And I'm like, well, if I was working in my old office in town, I wouldn't have time to do the washing up because I would be at work. So I actually took a similar line to yourself there, perhaps of, well, I'm kind of at work. It's just that my workplace happens to be this room in our house as opposed to 5 miles away. But yeah, good points well made there, Babs. Good points well made. So let's have a quick whiz over. I'm looking at the right channel this time. That's a good start. Right, okay. Okay.
That's great to see.
People are very excited to be involved in WP and Up, and I believe you are actually accepting volunteers as well to help out, Babs. Is that right?
Always, you know, the more people we can have involved, the better. So, you know, more volunteers, more people to write. I actually look after the content on the website, which is lovely. It's a real treat to actually exercise my writing muscle a bit sometimes and whip other people's writing muscles into shape or help them to, kind of thing. Yeah. It all came out wrong, but never mind.
we got the right drift, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to write, you know, we'll help you. You know, even if you're not too confident about it, or I put my thing over here. If you're not too confident about writing, you know, we'll give you a hand and help guide you and stuff like that. So, because it's, you know, it's not just the mental well-being of things, it's well-being in all ways, and, you know, skills health and business health. You know, obviously the mental well-being is the most obvious and primary one, and indeed we've had a 300% increase in the need for that in the last few weeks. So yeah, we could use a few more people to just hang around and join in with the Slack, because, and you know, if you're happy sharing there, you don't have to share that much. You can just say, give a score for how you're feeling that day. You don't have to say any more. You can just put a score, and somebody will notice that and think, you know, or if you do want to say something about it, then someone else might come in and say, yeah, I can relate to that. I can see how you feel. And immediately that can make you feel a bit less alone.
Yeah.
Just knowing that somebody else, you know, gets you.
Definitely. And another fantastic reason to be on Slack, to be fair. I mean, the cool thing I kind of like about Slack is I find it it's kind of non-linear in a way. It doesn't have to, you know, you don't necessarily post something and expect a response like 10 seconds later. Sometimes I'll interact with communities on Slack and post something and kind of come back a couple of days later and kind of continue the conversation in that way. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time, Babs.
You're very welcome.
And up.org, guys, definitely worth checking out. So volunteer, go for support, not just about mental health, really positive thing in our community. Okay, so just before we get wrapped up, because that has gone quick, we've only got 20 odd minutes, I must have rambled a lot. I'm going to hand you over to Kirsty because I missed her out on this schedule. Sorry, Kirsty, go on. First time and all that. To just give us a little whip round on Slack if you're not familiar with it, never heard of it, don't know how to use it, or maybe just beginning to use it. Kirsty's got a few hot tips on it. So I'm going to mute myself now and hand you over to Kirsty. Thank you.
I'm not necessarily going to say that I have any hot tips. This has mostly come around because we've mentioned the Birmingham Meetup room a few times at the real meetups, and we've had quite a lot of people there that didn't know what it was because they're not developers, so didn't immediately already have an account. I'm actually going to assume that most of you probably already know what Slack is. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, just that it is a chat application. So we've been having like chat throughout this meetup in it, where we've been able to ask questions and things. If you are interested in signing up and you haven't already done so, the link to the WordPress UK is on the meetup group, or actually on our meetup page. So you can sign in that way. And if I just share my screen for a second. Let's see. Oh no, that one. So, and this is our Birmingham meetup. So once you've signed up, if you're not already in this channel, then if you go to channels, then you can just browse them all to find the Birmingham one. But part of why I wanted to just show this is, this ties in very much to what Babs was just saying, is the WordPress UK community is fantastic. And there are so many different rooms and topics that you could get involved with. So I know we encourage you to join the Birmingham room, which is this one here, Meetup Birmingham, so that you can join in the chat and also see, hi Leo. So, and also like continue the conversations throughout the weeks and things as well. And we quite often discuss ideas for what we'd like to do in the next few months, or we have done a few times. Now there's more of you there, we will definitely do it a lot more. So, so yeah, it was just, to be fair, I think most of you already know what Slack is, but it was just a small, you're now spamming the Birmingham meetup thing, aren't you? With emojis. But yes, we plan to use this. So the idea with the chat is, for the meetups, is that we'll always use the Meetup Birmingham room. The one thing to be aware of with it is that because this is a free Slack, and there are a lot of people in the WordPress UK community, and there are a lot of other meetups and things like that, there is a limit on how much information gets stored. So your messages in this room are not going to stay there forever. I think it's kind of like 3 weeks or so, unless somebody has a massive WordCamp where everybody's really busy, and then you can find all of your messages deleted the next day because so many people used it over a weekend. But yeah, so please do, if you haven't already joined, come and join the Slack meetup, and then we can keep up conversations around the meetup itself as well. And also, if you have any feedback on tonight's meetup at all, we'd love to hear it, because obviously this is the first one we've done. I'm sure there are things we could improve upon. So here is the perfect place to put any feedback, so that we can work on it to make it better for next time. Now I'm going to not unshare my screen. That's over there. Stop sharing. So that's it. It was very quick roundup. Like I said, I think most of you already know what Slack is. But if you don't, then do go to the meetup page and click on the link. And you can sign up that way and just go and explore and have a chat with people. Yeah. Anything else, Johnny?
No, that's cool. Thank you, Kirsty. I think just one of the key takeaways for me was something that Kirsty enlightened me on. I don't actually use Slack that much, but I've started to now. Is just to remember that, you know, if you see a useful link or someone mentions something useful, I would extract that information out and save out in a browser tab somewhere, or, you know, put it in a text document or something, because, you know, just consider it a sort of temporary chat thing. Yeah. But yeah, I'd just like to echo what Kirsty said, that, you know, genuinely, this is going to be our home effectively now, you know, in this digital world. So we'll definitely be, you know, myself and Kirsty are generally online. Well, Kirsty is on 24/7, but due to her work commitments and such. But
not quite so much anymore. I've discovered Animal Crossing, so there's now a period of the day where I have to water flowers, so I'm not online.
Not about damn Animal Crossing, Jesus. Everybody's on there. You want to get some retro gaming, you know, this damn Animal Crossing. Yeah, all you need in your life is Bum Jack, believe me. Anyway, so yeah, we're we're effectively moving online. So we'd love to see you in our Slack channel. my point was we're going to be around. So if you need to message us about stuff, that'd be ace. If you'd like to present, we would anticipate that we're going to be doing a few more of these before we can meet in person. So if you would like to present yourself, please, Slack is a great place for us to have a chat about it. Alternatively, we're on Twitter if that's your thing. We post a few times a week. We try and pick up on little events, things happening, little tidbits of useful information. So the Twitter account is definitely worth following. But moving forward, Slack is going to pretty much be, you know, apart from the meetups, our main communication channel really, because Meetup is useless. It has like a forum and messages just get lost in it and no one uses it. It's useless. So, you know, I think Slack will be a good place for us to bring us together in between our meetups, and we'll certainly be doing one next month, that's for sure. Well, guys, unless there's any more business, Kirsty, I believe that about wraps us up for this month.
Yes, pretty much. Just wanted to say that next month, so this month we are a week late because Easter threw us all and we were not at all organised in pulling this together at all. So the next meetup is provisionally planned back at our original date, which is May the 19th. So hopefully you'll all come back then. And other than that, I just wanted to say thank you to Ben and Babs again for joining us and such excellent talks for our very first Birmingham meetup. Virtual meetup, sorry. It's not our actual first meetup.
It is. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. That's awesome. Now, I suppose I just end and everyone just disappears into digital dust. But, well, it is really nice to see you. So please catch us again sometime, yeah? Thanks very much, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.